President Trump gets charged for allegedly mishandling documents, but Jack Smith can mishandle documents, no problem.
I will not be intimidated, and the Justice Department will not be intimidated.
It is rather odd that the third-ranking official in your office leaves it to go to a local prosecutor's office to prosecute this case.
Justice Department had nothing to do with that person going.
The public has seen through the claims you've made today about fair and impartial pursuit of justice. They see that Lady Justice's blindfold has slipped off, and they need look no further than the treatment by your department of former President Trump and current defendant Hunter Biden.
That was House GOP lawmakers grilling Attorney General Merrick Garland yesterday on the alleged weaponization of the Justice Department. This was Garland's first congressional hearing since former President Trump's felony conviction in New York last week. Garland slammed the Republican effort to hold him in contempt over refusing to turn over audio tapes of special counsel Robert Hur's interview with the president, claiming that House Republicans are seeking the audio for, quote, no legitimate purpose. Garland admitted he has not listened to those tapes. Joining me now is Virginia Congressman Ben Cline, a member of the House Judiciary, Budget and Appropriations Committee. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much. What would you say are the top reasons for Republicans to consistently say that the DOJ has been weaponized?
Well, you don't have to look any further than the way that Trump has been treated in his missing documents case versus the president. Joe Biden has been treated with his. Right. He's been given a free pass by the Hur report. And then you look at Hunter Biden. They allowed the statute of limitations to lapse on the charges that were pending against Hunter Biden, and yet they send Colangelo from the Justice Department to New York to pursue these local charges by Alvin Bragg against Donald Trump. So in every case, it's weaponized against Republicans and protecting Democrats.
Well, I mean, this is going on now for a lot of years. You can go back to 2016 during the Russia collusion made-up story by Hillary Clinton and compare how Trump was treated versus Hillary Clinton as well when talking about that server that she had on. So, I mean, how are you going to change the sentiment or the behavior of this weaponization? What is it going to take?
It's going to take a contempt vote, and you have members on my side who, just a few, but when you only have a two-seat majority, it only takes a few to keep this from the floor. So we need to have the vote, even if it's going to be a roll of the dice on those final few members. We have to put them to it and make them take that vote so that we know that we can hold these administration officials accountable for their just refusal to comply with the law and with the requirements that Congress is demanding.
Mike Baker's in the studio this morning. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, sir, with the transcript of the interview of the president, from your perspective, what is the importance of getting the audio version of that interview?
Well, what we know is that the transcript has been doctored. The transcript has been edited by the Department of Justice. So they've edited out a lot of pauses. They've edited out a lot of ums and ahs. And we know that this president is struggling. So we want to actually hear how much did he struggle in that interview to cause Robert Hur to conclude that he was going to come across to a jury as a nice old man with memory issues. That's very disturbing. And we know from internal sources that the president's having issues right now. So it really needs to come into play. It's evidence in our impeachment inquiry, and Congress has demanded it, so we should have it.
Well, that sounds plausible, Mike.
It does sound plausible. I mean, it almost sounds as if what you're saying is that not providing the audio, right, is essentially election interference.
In a way, it is. They are trying to put their thumb on the scale. They have been trying to keep this presidential candidate, Donald Trump, in the courtroom instead of on the campaign trail. And, you know, the courts are not complying in every other place but New York. And so they had to come up with, you know, these jury instructions regarding these charges. You didn't even know what the charges were. It's ripe for appeal. The errors are just vast. So we anticipate a reversal on appeal. But in the meantime, this president is being attacked by the left through the justice system, through the Justice Department, and it's being weaponized against conservatives in general.
Well, Lee Carter, I did not realize that the transcript was doctored. And it was edited to the extent of taking out commentary of the president. that opens up a different conversation, I think.
It
if
does.
that's the case, then Republicans should be able to hear the audio.
It does open up a very different conversation, and I think this is a really important thing that the American people know. One question I have for you, Congressman, is there's a lot of criticism among the media and some others about how Republicans are talking about the weaponization of the justice system, and actually they're the ones that are causing a lack of faith in our institutions that are so important. But when you look at polling, more than 7 in 10 Americans say that there's a two-tier system of justice. 68% of Americans say that they want people down in D.C. to go down and fight back and actually take back the system. Now, what is it that Republicans are going to do if they take back control across the board that's going to restore faith in the justice system? Because I think as important as talking about how bad things are, it is important to talk about what we can do differently and what we can expect should Donald Trump win in 2024 and Republicans take back all branches.
Well, absolutely. And no, not only do we have a plan, or we're working on plans for day one when Donald Trump is elected president, sworn in, and Congress is under the control of Republicans, it's going to be action from day one. But we also have to take action now to show the American people that we mean business. This contempt vote is one thing, but Speaker Johnson outlined in the conference yesterday how we're going to use the Article I powers of Congress. You know, we're not law enforcement. That's the executive branch, and we have but we do have the power of the purse, and so we're going to use that through appropriations. We're going to use legislation to rein in the bureaucracy, and we're going to use appropriations to use the power of the purse, and we're going to use the authorizing oversight functions of government to make sure we hold those accountable in the executive branch when they overreach.
Well, by the way, yesterday and this week, we also heard from Merrick Garland, as well as, by the way, Christopher Wray, that there is a mounting threat of a potential terrorist attack in America as a result of the wide open border. President Biden finally does something about it yesterday, announcing executive actions that will temporarily suspend asylum claims if illegal migrant crossings top 2,500 a day for 7 days straight. The ban will stay in effect until 14 days after daily crossings reach an average of less than 1,500 encounters a day for, again, 7 consecutive days. The New York Post is reporting this so-called crackdown will still allow at least 1.8 million asylum seekers in America each year, if even this is enforced. Here's Biden once again shifting the blame for the border crisis onto Republicans and President Trump once again yesterday. Watch.
4 months ago, after weeks of intense negotiation between my staff and Democrats and Republicans, we came to a clear bipartisan deal. It was the strongest border security agreement in decades. But then Republicans in Congress, not all, but walked away from it. Why? Because Donald Trump told them to. So today, I'm moving past Republican obstruction and using the executive authorities available to me as president to do what I can on my own to address the border.
Well, he claims he's doing something now, 5 months before the election, Congressman. Your reaction to this border executive action?
You know, the American people haven't been asleep for the last 3.5 years. We have seen the border crisis up close because every community is now a border community. We've seen it in the crime rates. We've seen it in the education systems, the healthcare systems that are being overrun. It's ridiculous for the president, after reversing 63 executive orders on day one of his administration from Donald Trump's policy, he issues one and says, okay, all better, when all that does is cement in place the porous border that has caused this crisis in the first place. It's ridiculous.
All right, Congressman, we'll be watching all of that. Thanks very much. Ben Cline, thank you.